Choice, consciousness, and reality from illusion to practice. If I told you that your spiritual awakening could be the most sophisticated cage your ego has ever built, how would you react? Would you be willing, even for a moment, to question your self image as a conscious, luminous, smarter than everyone else person? Or would it bother you so much that you'd immediately close this video and return to the motivational quotes that reassure you? This is exactly where the real work begins. At the point where it's no longer comfortable or cute or Instagrammable. It's not dangerous to sleep. It's dangerous to sleep believing you're already awake. Try looking at your life with the coolness of an investigator, not with the eyes enamored of your spiritual history. How much conscience do you really show when someone contradicts you, ignores you, or puts you in a bind? How much kindness emerges in your most difficult relationships, not in the posts you share? How much real honesty is there in your daily choices, not in the sentences you write under videos on the levels of awakening? If the gap between what you say and what you experience is great, you're not wrong, but you're in a high-risk zone, that of a false awakening, the most insidious dream of all, because it's the dream of believing you've already awakened. In this video, I don't want to give you another label to stick on yourself, but rather to give you 4 undeniable keys: choice as presence, pure consciousness beyond concepts, Maya as a teacher of discernment, and prana as a bridge between mind and body. These keys aren't meant to make you special, they're meant to make you real. I'll also offer you a simple and ruthless 7 to 30 day test. If you follow it, you'll see for yourself whether your awakening is structure or just a show. If at the end you feel a little exposed but also strangely relieved, it means something within you has decided to truly grow, not just appear evolved. The ego isn't afraid of lofty ideas. It's afraid of the first coherent microaction you take today. Before delving into the core practices, if you feel this type of work speaks to you because it's direct, sugar-free, and uses concrete tools, seriously consider subscribing to the channel. A subscription isn't a badge to show off. It's a space where I can guide you with deeper practices, structured protocols, and real-world verification without having to remain superficial for the algorithm. If you feel it's time to stop accumulating theory and begin a more hands-on journey, a subscription is the most powerful way to support this work and at the same time receive content designed for those who truly want to change, not just understand. When I speak of a false awakening, I'm not referring to an insult, but to an almost inevitable stage of inner exploration. It's that phase in which spiritual language increases, but concrete transformation remains minimal. The signs are clear: much talk, little coherence, intense emotional peaks, but almost identical relational dynamics, increasingly rigid beliefs, while kindness toward yourself and others wanes. How many times have you used words like energy, vibration, or consciousness to cover up an escape, an attachment, or a fear? If your spirituality makes you more rigid, more judgmental, and less available, you're not elevating yourself. You're just becoming more sophisticated in the same old cage. The problem isn't studying or researching, but falling in love with the image of oneself as awakened and losing touch with real verification. Serious work begins when you ask yourself, do these ideas improve my way of relating to myself and others, or are they just giving me a more refined identity to hide behind? The real test isn't how excited you get by listening to certain content, but what happens when you shut everything out and return to your usual routine. After a month of self-work, does the person around you breathe better or worse? The answer to this question says much more than the number of books read or meditations done. To make all this tangible, let's start with choice. Too often we experience it as a set of rules: what you and you don't do, the implicit doctrine of the true seeker. In reality, living choice isn't obeying a code, but an act of presence in which word, heart, and gesture begin to coincide. A choice is authentic when it arises from a place where you listen to yourself and stop playing roles to please, control, or escape. If your awakening doesn't stand up to criticism, it's not an awakening, it's internal spiritual marketing. You can use a simple test to gauge where you're choosing. When faced with an important step, ask yourself, is my next step clear? Is it kind? Is it consistent with my deepest values? If clarity is lacking, if kindness is sacrificed to pride, if you betray what you know is true, you're probably choosing not from presence but from fear. Stop. Place one hand on your chest and one on your abdomen. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 2, exhale for a count of 6 for a few cycles. In that slightly quieter space, formulate just one small gesture of coherence for today. A phone call you've been putting off, a sincere apology, a clear yes or no. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be honest. You are not what you proclaim in your high moments. You are what you choose in your worst 5 minutes. The second key is pure consciousness. We often imagine it as an exotic, distant state, accessible only to a select few. Here, however, we're talking about something simple and radical: the openness that exists an instant before the mind begins naming everything. It's the ability to see, listen, and feel without immediately transforming everything into a story about yourself, others, or the world. When you stop labeling for a few seconds, a sense of naked presence emerges, a simple I am that doesn't yet need the addition of this or that. In that space, you are not yet the role, the problem, the wound. You are simply awareness observing. You can experiment with this easily. Fix a point in front of you with a soft gaze and for a few breaths, notice what you see without naming it. Then notice that while thoughts come and go, there's a background that remains, something that observes the flow without coinciding with it. Call it I am, if you like. From there, ask yourself a question. What is the next simplest gesture in this presence? It doesn't have to be epic. A glass of water drunk thoughtfully, a message of gratitude, a task left unfinished and completed. Spiritual maturity isn't the ability to escape the world, but to perform simple gestures from a place of clarity and goodness. Many seek mystical experiences to escape the only experience that matters, speaking an uncomfortable truth with an open heart. At this point, Maya, illusion, comes into play, not as a cosmic monster, but as a distorting lens through which you read reality. Every time you confuse facts and interpretations, every time you transform a neutral gesture into evidence for or against you, you are within Maya. The paradox is that precisely where you most deceive yourself lies the greatest potential for clarity. Instead of waging war on your thoughts, you can use Maya as a teacher of discernment. Ask yourself, is what I'm thinking now a fact or the story I'm building around it? The fact is neutral. The story is colored by your wounds, your expectations, your fears. A second question is, does this story make me more honest or more self-justified? If it's just to prove you're right, you're probably not seeking truth, but defense. A third is, if this story is truly important, what will change in my behavior within 24 hours? If nothing changes, if you remain stuck ruminating, perhaps you're fueling a mental movie. True Maya today is often not the world out there, but the spiritual image you cultivate of yourself. Serious work begins when you stop taking every thought as a definitive verdict and start asking yourself how much of my suffering is rooted in objective facts and how much in narratives I've never had the courage to question. Then there's prana, which we can bring back to earth very simply. Prana is breath, attention, and posture coming together. Every time you breathe short and irregularly, your mind wanders, and your body collapses or becomes rigid. Your system receives an alarm. When your breath lengthens, your attention reconnects with the present, and your posture regains a soft dignity, your system begins to recognize that it no longer needs to be on the defensive. You're not working magic, you're re-educating your body not to experience everything as an emergency. You can use a mini protocol every day lasting a few minutes. Sit with your back straight but soft, your feet flat on the floor, and your shoulders relaxed. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and remain empty for 2, then 8 cycles. As you exhale, bring your thumb and forefinger together like a small seal of attention, and let this gesture remind you to stay present with your breath. Meanwhile, choose a concrete instance of kindness that can happen today: a softer word, an act of care for your body, a willingness to clear up a misunderstanding. In those minutes, you're practicing the alignment between what you feel and what you could do. Your true practice isn't the time you spend meditating, but how you react when someone hurts you. From here, karma ceases to be a threat. It will come back to you and becomes a pedagogy of responsibility. Karma is the intertwining of intention, action, and consequences within a concrete context. It's not just what you do that matters, but where that action comes from, how you execute it, and what it leaves behind. A serious way to work with it is this: formulate the intention, perform a clean microaction, and observe the impact. Imagine a suspended situation with a person. You can stop and say to yourself, "My intention is clarity, not to prove myself right." Then write a short, sincere, and respectful message with a specific proposal for the next step. Afterward, look within. Do you feel lighter, more organized, less reactive, even if the other person doesn't respond as you'd like? Or do you feel more tense, full of resentment, stuck in the idea of having done the right thing? This type of observation holds up a mirror that's difficult to manipulate. Perhaps some seemingly correct actions arise from control or revenge, while others, humble and simple, have a quality of clarity that even reorganizes the body. The acid test is simple. After a month of work on yourself, do those around you feel more secure or more tense? The answer tells you how much of your path is embodied and how much is just theory. To prevent everything from remaining a beautiful map without any territory, verification is necessary. You can commit to a 730-day test. Every evening, for 2 minutes, write down a single piece of evidence of coherence. A moment when what you said, what you felt, and what you did were aligned. Don't look for huge things. Also write down a clear no, a respectful boundary, a commitment kept despite laziness. Every morning, dedicate 2 minutes. The first to return to the silent "I am" with a few conscious breaths. The second to choose a gentle, slightly challenging pace for the day. Once a week, ask an honest person for real feedback. Do you seem more present or more responsive, clearer or more confused than you did some time ago? If after these days you notice even a little less reactivity, a hint of greater clarity, slightly cleaner choices, then what you're doing is no longer simply accumulating concepts. You're entering into real transformation. If, however, everything has remained the same, you've still gained something precious, a mirror that doesn't lie. From there you can choose: continue cultivating an image of being awakened, or begin working with more humility and rigor. At this point, the question is no longer, did I understand the video? But, am I willing to put my life on the test? Presence, discernment, alignment, verification. If these are still 4 beautiful words to hear, nothing has changed. But if tomorrow you truly begin to look at where your choices lie, where you deceive yourself with stories, where your body screams and you silence it, then this wasn't just another piece of content to consume. It was a fracture in the ego's narrative. The ego hates the ridicule of being exposed and the coherence of a human being who begins to live what they say. I leave you with a clear proposal. Take 30 days. Every day, an act of presence, a gesture of discernment, a breath of alignment. a moment of sincere verification. If after a month you're the same, you can file this video as unhelpful. But if something in you becomes less reactive, clearer, more honest, then you'll know that your awakening has stopped being a fairy tale and has begun to become a force that influences your choices. If this video touched you, I ask you to give it a conscious like, not a courtesy one, and to write the word verify in the comments. It will be your way of telling yourself, from today, I'm going to look at my life more honestly. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so we can continue this work together step by step. Thank you so much for your time, attention, and courage in listening this far. I wish you days of gentle clarity, where every small choice becomes a field of real practice. See you in the next video, where we'll bring the Thoth map and the contemporary method face to face, to delve even deeper into this dialogue between consciousness and reality. See you soon.